What's going on, y'all? It's Monica Jones, and I'm here with a strength band full body workout. All you need is a band. Of course, if you have bands with handles on them, that's perfectly fine. But I love the strength band because you have the opportunity to change up the level of resistance you have. We're going to warm it up to start off with 30 seconds apiece. Inchworm to a hip stretch. I love the inchworm to hip stretch because it allows for us to use the upper body, get dynamic, and get a good stretch through the lower body as well. So make sure that when the foot comes up, it lands on the outside of the hand with your heel down. And you're gonna stay active through your shoulders as you're pushing the ground away. Squeeze your glutes in that plank position. Push those hips forward towards the ground as you're stretching. Nice work. Next up, we're going into our squat, reach, and rotate. Drop down low, drive your knees apart, and you're gonna pivot that foot and reach, getting a nice rotational movement, making sure that we are, again, creating connection between our upper and lower body. Reaching overhead is something that really keeps our posture good, and we also wanna make sure that we're able to open those hips up. Make sure you are inhaling on the way down, exhaling on the way up, keeping a proud chest. Couple more reps here. Nice work. Next up, we're gonna go into our quad pull. So you're gonna grab onto your shoelaces, pull that heel towards your glute. Try to make sure that your knees are matched up and beside one another. You're tucking your tailbone, so there's no arch in your lower back, and you get more stretch through the front side of your leg. In order to balance, you wanna make sure that you are focusing on something that isn't moving, and you wanna make sure that you're squeezing the glute of your standing leg. Again, creating a reach overhead if you have the balance. You can also pause a little bit longer if you need to. All right, lastly, we're laying it down, and we've got an alternating superhero. The alternating superhero is to engage the backside of the body, especially the glutes. So squeeze your glutes and then lift opposite arm, opposite leg. Try to make sure your neck stays neutral. Sometimes I get mixed up on which is opposite. It took me a minute to get that one together. I spent a good amount of time laughing at myself for that. But sometimes you just gotta hit a hard reset. Again, make sure you're pushing through that opposite arm off the ground. We don't want to be arching the back. We want to be creating a little bit of connection between upper and lower body. All right, let's get it started with our band. We're going to be moving for 60 seconds. We start off with an overhead press. Step onto your band, feet are about hip to shoulder width apart. Let's start the timer. You're going to press, squeezing your belly button to your spine to keep your lower back nice and protected. Make sure you're getting full range of motion, actively pushing up to the sky, trying to make sure that you are rhythmic about your breathing. In on the way down, out on the way up. It's great to make sure that you're engaged through the lower body as well for good balance. Now, if you need to, we step one leg off of that band so that you're getting less resistance. And this is how we build endurance. Make the adjustments while you're in your interval rather than stopping to take a break. But of course, if you need to stop and take a break, that's all right. Really, the most important thing is that you try to keep going. All right, next movement we're setting up for is going to be our tricep kickback. So you're gonna step on top of your band. Make sure that you are on the front side of the band. Backside's gonna go back behind you, and we're gonna kick back, squeezing the back of the arm. So keep a nice straight back, proud chest, neutral neck. Squeeze the back of the arms with intention. It's almost like I'm trying to touch the outside of my pinkies to the ceiling. Squeeze with intention, make sure that you're keeping your core braced, and you should feel a little bit of work through the backside of those legs. And of course, you can always step one leg off as you're getting through the interval if you're trying to continue on with the exercise with a little bit less resistance. Switching my leg out so I'm nice and even here. Again, keep the proud chest, keep pushing yourself, squeeze. All right, third exercise, we're going into a reverse lunge with the arms extended in front of us. This is just continuing to have an isometric hold for our shoulders. Making sure that the arms are away from the body is also going to elevate our heart rate. When you're lunging back, you want to get 90 degrees in both knees. If your knee touches the ground, great, but if not, you can still work up towards a little bit more mobility in those joints. And make sure that I take my vision with me as I rotate, and I keep my shoulders relaxed down away from my ears. We're not really trying to hunch them up and work our traps. We more so just want to get a good burn through those deltoids. Couple more reps here. Keep your belly button tight. Squeeze the glutes at the bottom for better balance. Working on that lower and upper body endurance. Now, something else to think about is if your arms need to come down for a second, they can, but try to push yourself. Make sure that front knee is also driving out. Whew. All right, here we go. Into our next circuit. This is going to be 60 seconds of a bent over row. Go ahead and step on your band, and you're gonna keep your feet around hip width apart. Now think about squeezing the middle back to raise those arms up. Make sure that your wrists stay nice and neutral, and you're squeezing with intention. So again, we're not shrugging up through our shoulders. We are driving back towards our hips, and then elbows are going strong towards the ceiling. It's a really good burn. This is one of our higher resistance exercises, so you know what to do. If you feel like you need a little bit less resistance, you just step one of those legs off. But what we want to do is make sure that we keep good posture. You got this. Keep squeezing, keep that proud chest, drop the resistance if you need to. In a 60-second time frame, I'm really trying to get somewhere above 8 to 10 reps. That's about 2 reps every 10 seconds, and I think that it makes a lot of sense to try to push yourself for a couple extra. Next up, we've got a single leg bicep curl. You don't need too much resistance, but you do want to grab enough to the point where you feel the band pulling your arms back down. So find that knee at 90 degrees out in front of you, squeeze the glute of your standing leg, and it's important to ensure that you're keeping your elbows in line with your body, meaning you don't want them to creep back or creep forward. You want to feel that resistance through the entire rep. We're going to do one side for around 25 seconds and then do the other side. That way you're getting a full minute, but you get to work one leg at a time. Of course, if you want to double up the band to get more resistance, not for me today, but this is an option, and don't let me stop you. But again, see if you can get that lifted leg to be parallel to the ground through the thigh. Flex your toes back so that you're really engaged through the entire leg. And if you want to make it tougher, you can always, of course, straighten that top leg too. Getting hip flexor work, getting single leg balance, working on our ability to balance and whether we're in stable situations or not is a great way to keep us young. Nice work, y'all. All right, we're moving it down to the floor. There's a few options for our core exercise, but we spend 60 seconds on either a sit-up or a crunch. So again, arms extended in front of us. This raises the heart rate. We're digging heels through the ground and getting that full sit-up in with a proud chest. Sometimes it is easier to bring the arms in front of us so that we have a counterbalance to sit up. If you want to keep them behind you or keep them in line with your ears, you can. Or you can add a reverse fly at the top, which is great for posture. Just make sure, again, shoulders are down away from our ears and we're squeezing through that middle back, keeping our wrist nice and straight. Of course, there's nothing wrong with hitting a crunch instead. Just make sure you're really getting a lift through those shoulder blades. Onward with our last few reps of this sit-up to reverse fly. Trying to include my hip flexors as I'm driving through the ground to sit up. This can also be done with straight legs, or it can be done lifting one leg at a time. You pick your poison, but this resistance band has added so much extra work for me, and I love traveling with it or just taking some time to work on my mobility. So let's get into some stretches. We're gonna go into a kneeling stretch first, and we're gonna also include the rotator cuff. So not only is bringing the arm around and grabbing onto a band or a towel gonna help with our internal rotation of our arms, but it also stretches the tricep. Remember to keep your chin off your chest, and you wanna tuck your tailbone so you're getting a full stretch through that hip flexor. Feel free to lunge your front knee forward to get a little bit deeper into the stretch, but make sure that you're still keeping your core engaged, still keeping that back glute squeezing. We're gonna shift over and hit the other side. One side you'll find is usually tighter than the other, and that just gives you more clues as to what you can work on. It might be strengthening, it might be flexibility, but as long as we show up consistently, those little imbalances will work themselves out. Not only do we work out the imbalances, but we also find ways to become more resilient in our everyday life. It is tough to show up to work out, so I love these bands because they also give me the opportunity to do what I need to do from home. Just making a habit of showing up goes a really long way. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and stretch our hammies, laying down on our backs. I like this movement because we can use the band to pull our toes closer to our bodies. Make sure the bottom leg is extended. We're gonna tuck our tailbone, and then you can get a little bit of ankle flexion and extension to get a nice stretch through your calf and also behind the knees. Make sure that your shoulders are relaxed and you're breathing deeply through that stretch. Again, can you identify which side is tighter? It might be your stronger side. And the stronger side oftentimes gets a little bit overworked. It can be overcompensating for other weaknesses or imbalances that we have. So It's good to give a little bit of extra time on that side if you need to. These are one of the most relieving stretches, and you can do it laying down, so there's no excuse. All right, last couple stretches and make our way up to standing position and do some pass throughs. So give yourself a little bit of slack, but some resistance in the band. You're going to work all the way back with those straight arms. You shouldn't feel like you're forcing it, just allowing your rotator cuffs to open up. Your arms may not go all the way back and down, and that's okay, as long as you feel that stretch through your shoulders and through the chest. Make sure that you're tucking your tailbone and not overarching your back. And of course that you're breathing. Now we've got to step over to an oblique bend. Open up the side body. Use the squeeze of the inner thighs to counterbalance yourself as you're tilting to one side. Breathe deeply so that oxygen reaches those muscles. And make sure that you are focusing on one point so that you can balance. Open up, stretch, welcome in all the good vibes. In just around 10 minutes, we've done so much work, and I hope that you'll show up again tomorrow and celebrate the win. Love you, bye.